So this is lecture 3 in biological membranes. This is the usual disclaimer that it is meant for you and should not be used for any other purpose, copied or posted on any site without the permission of author. And some of the pictures in this presentation have been taken from public domain websites or popular books to make the topic easy to understand. Okay, the credit for such pictures remains with the original publisher. Now the second important component, second major component in biological membrane is the proteins. And biological membrane proteins can be broadly classified into two types. There are two types of proteins. Broadly, they can be classified, they can be categorized, they can be grouped into two groups. And what are those two groups? One is called as extrinsic, or they are also called as peripheral. The first group is called as extrinsic or peripheral proteins. What does it mean? It means that they are loosely bound. They are loosely attached to the biological membrane. Okay, they are loosely bound. Please remember these terminology, extrinsic or peripheral. And the second group is called as intrinsic or integral proteins. And they are deeply embedded or they span the entire width of the membrane. So this is the lipid bilayer. So membrane spanning means like this. Means they span across the lipid bilayer of the membrane, right? So they are called as membrane spanning proteins. So they are deeply embedded. In fact, they cross the entire bilayer. So a part of it is present on the extracellular side and a part of it is present in the intracellular side, and rest of it is embedded in the biological membrane. So these are called as intrinsic proteins. So there are two major groups. One is extrinsic and the other one is called as intrinsic. Now extrinsic protein or peripheral proteins are loosely bound, either by electrostatic or hydrogen bonds. What are the kind of interaction? You have either electrostatic interaction or you have hydrogen bonds to the lipids of the membrane, right? They can be easily separated because they are loosely bound. They can be easily separated from the membranes by simple treatments like change in the pH of the solution. So if you change the pH of the solution to more acidic or more alkaline, these proteins, they tend to separate from the lipids of the membrane. Or you can use high salt concentration, 0.5 molar NaCl, 0.7 molar NaCl or 1 molar NaCl. When you use this kind of solutions also, these proteins, they tend to separate from the biological membrane. And when they separate, the membrane remains intact after the treatment. The membrane doesn't get disrupted. The bilayer of the membrane will remain as it is, right? Because only loosely bound proteins have been separated from the membrane. On the other hand, intrinsic proteins or integral membrane protein or membrane spanning proteins are tightly associated with the membrane and through large number of hydrophobic interactions. See, the different kinds of bonds are there. You have hydrogen bonds over there or electrostatic interactions. Here in case of integral membrane proteins, you have the interaction type is hydrophobic in nature. Hydrophobic interactions are there. And they cannot be easily separated. They can be separated by treatment with detergents like sodium dodecyl sulfate. So you have to make use of harsher treatments. You have to use detergents like sodium dodecyl sulfate, SDS, or Twin, or any other biological detergent. Okay, and when they get separated from the lipids, the membrane gets disrupted after the treatment. So this is, or these are the basic or fundamental differences. One, you have to remember that extrinsic proteins are loosely bound, can be easily separated, and when they separate, the lipid bilayer remains intact. Intrinsic protein, on the other hand, are deeply embedded and their interaction are of hydrophobic in nature, and they can be separated only by treatments with biological detergents like SDS or Twin, and the membrane gets disrupted once the proteins get separated from the bilayer. So here is a picture which gives you a good idea as to what is meant by intrinsic protein and what is meant by extrinsic protein. So as you can see, the one in blue. So these are called as extrinsic protein, right? Because you can see they are loosely bound to the um, peripheral either lipids or proteins. So here they are attached to the lipids. Here it can be seen to be attached to the another protein. Okay, so the one in blue are extrinsic protein, and the one in yellow, A, B, C, these are intrinsic or integral or membrane spanning protein. Okay, they are deeply embedded. In fact, they are crossing the entire width of the lipid bilayer. So therefore, they are also called as membrane spanning proteins. Okay, so these two types of proteins are there. And what are their functions? The membrane proteins perform all the dynamic functions of the membrane. Membrane के जितने function है, they will be carried out by the membrane proteins. And what are the functions of the membrane? The membrane proteins, they act as channels, they act as pumps, or they act as receptors. So all channels, all pumps, all types of receptors which are present on the biological membranes, they will be made of these proteins. So there is a good division of work. So membrane proteins, they will perform all the functions of the membranes, be it acting as the channels or working as pumps or serving as receptors. The third component, which cannot be called as a major component, but it is a minor component, are carbohydrates. So what are carbohydrates? Their content, ranges between 2 to 10%. In different biological membranes, carbohydrates may be present to the extent of or anywhere between 2 to 10%. And they can be found attached to membrane proteins. Carbohydrates can be attached to membrane proteins, and when they're attached to membrane protein, they are called as glycoproteins. Please remember this term also, glycoprotein. Glycoprotein means a protein which has got attached carbohydrates to it. Okay, and carbohydrates can be attached to lipids also. So in that case, those lipids are called as glycolipids. Lipids having carbohydrates attached, group of carbohydrates attached to them are called as glycolipids. Okay. So to the proteins, they are linked either to amino acid asparagine. Okay, so there is a well-defined, what you can say, structure. Whenever carbohydrates are there attached to protein, there are two sites that normally they are attached. They are well-defined sites. They are attached either to amino acid asparagine by an N-glycosidic bond, or they can be attached to amino acid serine or threonine, and that is called as an O linkage. So when they are attached to asparagine, it is called as N linkage, and when they are attached to either amino acid serine or threonine, the linkage is called as O linkage. And the sugars which are attached are usually amino sugars, N-acetyl glucosamine or N-acetyl galactosamine. Sugars which are attached to proteins or lipids are generally amino sugars. And examples of amino sugars I am giving here, N-acetyl glucosamine or N-acetyl galactosamine. So these pictures, shows you the presence of carbohydrates. So all these are all carbohydrate moieties, carbohydrate residues, oligosaccharide units, right? When you say oligosaccharide means you have more than 2-3 monosaccharide units together. So you can see there are multiple of them, 8, 10, 15, something like that. Okay, and majority of them are amino sugars. Okay, so one thing you have to notice that there is an oligosaccharide units, means they are made up of multiple monosaccharide units. One second, you must notice that some of them are attached to proteins. So the one in purple, this violet, these are proteins. This is an integral protein spanning across. This is a peripheral protein. These are peripheral proteins. This is also peripheral protein because it is also not deeply embedded, it is only partly embedded. This is again an integral protein. This is integral protein. This is a peripheral protein. This is an integral protein. These are all peripheral proteins. So they are attached to proteins. So this protein is a glycoprotein. They are attached to lipids also. Here you can see a small oligosaccharide unit attached to the lipids. Here you can see a bigger one attached to the lipids. Here also you can see a smaller one attached to the lipids. Okay, so these are called as glycolipids, right? Glycoprotein and glycolipid. I hope, Faiza, I'm making things clear to you. The next question that comes is, what is the function, what is the role of these carbohydrates? Okay, so we have seen the role of lipid, we have seen the role of protein, and what is the role of carbohydrates? So the role of carbohydrate is they help glycoprotein, they help orient glycoproteins in the biological membrane. Orientation of glycoprotein to a large extent is determined by the presence of oligosaccharide units. So if you have noticed in the previous slide, you know, these oligosaccharide units are majority of the cases, in fact, not majority, in all the cases, they are present on the extracellular phase, right? So they help decide the orientation of glycoprotein. Since they're hydrophilic, means they're made up of sugars, they're hydrophilic, most of them are located bound on the extracellular phase of the membrane. Because it will be energetically very expensive for hydrophilic groups to pass through the hydrophobic core of the bilayer. So majority of them are present on the extracellular phase. They are bound on the extracellular phase, and we have seen it in the previous slide. Because all of them are present on the extracellular phase, they help to maintain the asymmetric character of the membrane. So we have seen in earlier lecture that biological membranes are asymmetric. The two faces of the membrane are never same, never identical. It is because of this, because proteins are always invariably present on the extracellular phase. So since they are not there on the intracellular side, intracellular phase, the two faces can never be identical. And another function of carbohydrate is that carbohydrates of the membrane help in cell-to-cell recognition. So this is another topic. Cell-to-cell recognition is mediated by the oligosaccharide units of the biological membranes. The next thing that comes is, what are the properties of biological membranes? Okay, so now you know that biological membranes are made up of a lipid bilayer, periodically embedded in it, either embedded or loosely bound are proteins, and attached to the protein as well as lipids, you have some amount of carbohydrate. Okay, so what are the properties of these biological membranes? So you know, lipid is one of the major component. Lipid has a tendency to form a monolayer. When it is spread on an aqueous surface, it tends to form a monolayer. Monolayer means one molecule thick layer. Okay, and the thickness of lipid layer is around 1 nanometer, 10 to the power minus 9 of a meter on aqueous surface. So let's say this is the aqueous surface. So lipids have a tendency to form a monolayer like this. One molecule thick layer. So this is the lipid monolayer. This is the aqueous surface, right? And you can see now how they are oriented. So they are oriented in this way. This is the typical, you know, way we represent a lipid. This is the polar head, and these are the hydrophobic tail. So the polar head, the hydrophilic side, the hydrophilic part is towards the water, right? Because it is hydrophilic in nature, it is water loving, and the hydrophobic are away from the water. So these are hydrophobic tails, they are away from the water. So they form a monolayer. The thickness, you please remember, is only 1 nanometer. That means 10 to the power minus 9 of a meter. If I have to give you an example to make things easy to understand, is that if you spread, say, about 2 ml, 3 ml of your kitchen oil, cooking oil, right, on the water body, it can form a monolayer in about half an acre land, half an acre water body. Half an acre means something like 20,000 square feet. Just 2 ml, 3 ml of cooking oil, when it is spread on an aqueous layer, it can form a 1 nanometer thick monolayer in about 20,000 square feet of area. That is why, because of this property, the oil spill in high seas, in oceans, is considered as a very serious threat to the environment, to the aquatic life, because it has a tendency to form very thin monolayer in a large surface of the water body. तो जब ऑयल टैंकर्स एक देश से दूसरे देश में जाते हैं समुद्र मार्ग से, तो उसमें तो हजारों लीटर ऑयल होता है, क्रूड ऑयल. अगर इसका रिसा हो जाए, ये अगर लीक हो जाए, तो यू कैन इमेजिन they can spread over a area of literally thousands of kilometers. Okay, because they have a tendency, oil has a tendency, it can form a 1 nanometer thick monolayer. When you try to mix it in aqueous medium, lipids ko, they tend to form either micelles or bilayer. So lipids को अगर आप water aqueous phase में mix करने की कोशिश करेंगे, तो टेंडेंसी उनकी होती है कि either they will form a micelle. This is micelle. So what you are noticing is that they have formed a circle like this. Okay, all the hydrophilic groups, they are exposed to the aqueous phase, and all the hydrophobic parts, they are sequestered inside the circle. They are trying to shield it from the water because they are hydrophobic in nature. Okay, and the second option is they form this kind of a bilayer. Okay, so these are the polar heads. They are exposed to the water on either side here, and all the hydrophobic parts are sequestered, they are shielded, they are inside this bilayer. They are away from the water. So what was found out is that this is the most convenient, because here there is no limitation on the size. You can have these bilayers as big as 20 nanometers or even bigger. But here you have a size limitation, because you cannot, and the other problem is that these hydrophobic tails are big and there is a limited space inside. So packing of these hydrophobic tails within a limited space, limited volume becomes difficult. So all the evidence now suggests that lipids, when they're mixed in the aqueous phase, aqueous medium, they tend to form these kinds of bilayers. Based on some of these experiments, pioneering and innovative experiments, in 1972, J. Singer and G. Nicholson, they proposed that biological membranes are fluid mosaics. तो उन्होंने fluid mosaic model दिया. There are two-dimensional solutions of lipids and proteins. Okay, they are not static assembly; they are dynamic assemblies. Lipids in the biological membrane, they serve as both solvent for the integral proteins, means they provide space where integral membrane proteins can be embedded, and they interact with them using hydrophobic interactions. And the second function is lipids of the biological membrane serve as a permeability barrier. Because they are lipids, because they are hydrophobic, they won't allow anything and everything to pass through it. Particularly polar groups, charged species, they cannot pass through these lipid bilayers easily. एक्स्ट्रासेलुलर साइड से सेल के अंदर या सेल के अंदर से बाहर की तरफ, दोनों ही तरफ से जो है ये मान लीजिए सेल है, तो दे मेम्ब्रेन सर्व्स ए barrier. It doesn't allow entry of anything and everything through it. Particularly polar, hydrophilic, and charged ions, they cannot pass through this lipid bilayer. Anything which is lipid soluble can pass through easily. Okay, but anything which is not lipid soluble will find it difficult, will require energy or some other specialized mechanism for its transportation. Now, as I said, the membranes are fluid mosaics. The fluidity of the membrane depends on the fatty acid content. So you know that there are at least 2 fatty acid chains. These can be either saturated or unsaturated. So depending upon what kind of fatty acids are there, membrane fluidity will be dependent on that. Okay, and I gave you this particular, I showed you this table earlier also. So these are all saturated fatty acids of different chain length, 12 carbon to 24 carbon. And I told you 12 carbon to 20 carbon is the most common. And you see the melting point, right? And on the lower side, you see the unsaturated and monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fatty acids. Again, 16 to 20 carbon is more common. So this is monounsaturated, this is monounsaturated, but then linoleic, linolenic, arachidonic, these are all polyunsaturated fatty acids. You see the melting points. So melting point is dependent on degree of unsaturation. More the degree of unsaturation, less is going to be the melting point. That means these kinds of lipids are going to be liquid at ordinary temperature, right? And when you have saturated fatty acid, more of them, these lipids tend to be solid at room temperature, right? Because room temperature is around 35 degrees Celsius and they have a melting point of more than 35 degrees Celsius. So if you have more of what you can say unsaturated fatty acids, obviously the membrane fluidity will be more. Membrane fluidity is going to be more, right? More of unsaturated fatty acid, more is going to be the membrane fluidity. And I told you cholesterol is a bulky molecule. We have seen the structure of cholesterol. So wherever it is present, it causes rigidity to the membrane. So fluidity is dependent on two, the composition of fatty acid, and the second is presence of cholesterol. Now I told you that these membranes are dynamic assemblies. They are not static. So membrane lipids and proteins are free to move in horizontal plane, making membranes dynamic assemblies. Okay. So membrane proteins and membrane lipids in particular, they are free to move in horizontal plane. Okay. So you see here, this lipid is present here in dark pink, and next moment rapidly it can move to the next point. It can move back to the original position also quickly. Okay. So this movement, lateral movement, is allowed. Lateral movement of both proteins as well as lipid is allowed. Lateral movement, lateral diffusion. Vertical movement in this direction is either not allowed, or if at all it takes place very slowly. So you see this lipid here, the dark pink. So it has come to this place. It has moved vertically, but it is either not allowed, or if at all it is allowed, it takes place rather slowly, very slowly, whereas lateral movement is very rapid. And it is this property that makes membrane dynamic assemblies, that makes membrane fluid. Okay, the property, the ability of the lipids of the membrane as well as the proteins of the membrane to move freely in lateral direction. Another property is that the two faces of the membrane, and I told you earlier also, are never identical. Membranes are all biological membranes. I am using the word never. There is no exception also. So all biological membranes, they are asymmetric in nature. The two faces of the membrane are going to be different. The inner and outer surfaces of the membranes have different components and enzymatic activities. So components, on the extracellular phase, you will find oligosaccharide units attached either to lipids or proteins. Intracellular phase, you won't find any of those oligosaccharide units. Intracellular phase, on the other hand, you will find good number of membrane-bound enzymes. So therefore, I am using the inner and outer surfaces of the membrane, have different components and enzymatic activities. So these are some of the major properties, you can say characteristics also of the biological membrane. So that's all in this. Thank you very much.